I go by a lot of names. Some of them are actually a bit cruel and hurtful to me.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and big spoilers are ahead for Ironheart Episode 6. You have been warned. So now we can finally talk about it. Mephisto, the devil, the great Satan himself, is officially in the MCU. He was introduced in Ironheart Episode 6, where he makes a deal with Riri. But he also says that he has made other deals.
I've been a little bit busy. You see, you're not my only client.
So this opens up a whole other exciting can of possibilities. Who else in the MCU has made a deal with Mephisto? Are there other heroes who we thought were good, but who have secretly been serving the Lord of Darkness? A little later, Tommy and Colton are going to give me some of their theories, and I have some huge ones of my own. And we're also going to talk about how this could possibly lead into Doctor Doom's origin in Avengers Doomsday. And hell, maybe, just maybe, it really was Mephisto all along.
Mephisto.
As always, remember that you can listen to ScreenCrush on all your favorite podcast platforms. And tomorrow we're launching an exclusive interview with Ironheart producer Sev Ohanian. And right now we have tons of new parody merch for the Fantastic Four and Superman, including this shot of the two rockets passing each other in space. Links for those are below. So wait a minute, who is Mephisto? All right, well, here is a very brief TLDR, because I know a lot of you guys know this already. In the comics, Mephisto is basically the devil of the Marvel Universe. He's always trying to make deals for people's souls, gain power, and expand his reach into the mortal plane. But his history in the MCU is an interesting story. During WandaVision, there was a lot of speculation about who was really behind Westview, and a very popular fan theory is that it was Mephisto. Now, it turned out that it actually really was Wanda all along, with a little bit of help from Agatha. But this whole Mephisto thing became a running joke, that every single secret big bad was actually Mephisto. And then they finally name-dropped him in Agatha all along.
Mephisto.
And we even made a Mephisto-confirmed t-shirt. So I think it's interesting that we have had all of these different magic stories in the MCU. 2 Doctor Strange movies, at least 2 series about magical characters, plus the Thor films, but we're introduced to Mephisto in a show that is about a tech genius that's set on the south side of Chicago. So this shows us how Mephisto isn't just some demonic figure looming over other dimensions. He's here. He's always been here, ready to strike at ordinary people when they are most vulnerable. Like in the show, I think Mephisto actually wanted Riri the entire time. Her tech genius makes her a powerful asset for him. She could potentially be as successful as Tony Stark. And not to mention, having a superhero who secretly serves Mephisto would allow him to infiltrate other superheroes, the Young Avengers, and then to ultimately undermine all of these super teams. Yeah, but what does Mephisto actually want? Well, we're going to talk to Colton and Tommy about that, and we're going to dive deep into who else we think is a servant of the great imp from hell, Nicholas Scratch. But here's my favorite theory that I think explains a lot of MCU history, and it would be a perfect setup for Avengers Doomsday. I think a servant of Mephisto was Howard Stark. Oh, that's a good one. Ryan, guess what? It's me. I mean you. I'm from the future. Hi. We don't have much time. There's something I have to tell you. This store, look, it's not what you think it is. Well, hold on, wait. What are you wearing? Oh, you like it? It's Fabletics. They're the sponsor of this video. It's fantastic. Oh, what is that? Oh, well, I can actually tell you and everybody else. Do you mind? Oh, not at all. Come on over. High five. Right. Guys, I hate shopping for clothes. There's too many options. Nothing ever fits right, especially in the summer when it seems like everything is just uncomfortable. But Fabletics, the sponsor of this video, is the comfortable, breathable activewear that is great for workouts, summertime barbecues, or just feeling great. The first time I ever put on a Fabletics shirt, the first thing I thought was, I can't believe how soft this is and how well it fits. Like, this is just one of my gym shirts, and it's perfect because it breathes so well thanks to its sweat-wicking fabric. And this is more of a dress shirt, but it still breathes as well as the t-shirt. You know, guys, people are asking me all the time, Ryan, do you even wear pants? Yeah, I wonder that myself sometimes. Well, the answer is yes. I'm wearing Fabletics pants. These are so comfortable. I love the zip pockets, and they're the perfect activewear for the summertime. And guys, right now, Fabletics is offering an incredible deal. If you join their VIP program, you get 80% off your first order. And then as a VIP member, you save an additional 50% every single day. Plus exclusive VIP sales and drops, and free access to the Fabletics workout app for free workouts. Plus, and this is an insane deal, if you spend $60 a month, your membership gives you 1 credit for a bundle, a 2-piece, or any product for up to $100. The membership is also flexible. You can skip any month between the 1st and 5th without being charged. Guys, I have been wearing Fabletics for months, ever since I escaped from the store. That's enough, comrade. So click our link below to sign up for a Fabletics VIP membership today and get 80% off the entire site. It's an insane deal you're not going to want to miss. Now, back to what I was saying. All right, so let me explain why I think that Howard Stark would make a great candidate for selling his soul to the devil and how that can lead us into Doctor Doom. Now, the criteria that I'm looking for here are people in the MCU who are successful, but who just had unhappy endings. Just like we see in the show, when you make a deal with Mephisto, it never turns out well, and he ultimately will take away what he promised. Now, I also don't think that there would be a main character who made a deal with Mephisto, only supporting characters. If like Iron Man or Peter Parker would have made a deal with Mephisto, then I think we would have seen it on screen or heard them talk about it in the movie. So that still leaves us literally hundreds of supporting cast members from this franchise. Everybody from Happy Hogan to Valentino Allegra de Fontaine are suspects, and that's why I think the perfect choice is Howard Stark. When we meet Howard Stark in Captain America: The First Avenger, he's an inventor, but not a great one. And in the show Agent Carter, he is framed for treason and he has to flee the country in the first episode. But then, his name was pretty easily cleared and suddenly everything was looking up for him. Afterwards, he co-founded S.H.I.E.L.D., then became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then became one of the most powerful men in the world. Not only did his inventions make him a billionaire, but he oversaw the very security apparatus that was buying his weapons with about zero government oversight. So I think that after Howard was framed for treason, he made a deal with Mephisto. He wanted to be a success, but just like Riri, Howard would tell himself a lie, that he really wanted people to be safe. So this is what Mephisto offers him, a chance to be rich and also to provide security for the world. So Mephisto obliged, helped clear Howard's name, dissolved the SSR, and turned it into S.H.I.E.L.D. He even gave Howard a son, and Howard recognizes that his kid is more brilliant than him. Like remember in Iron Man 2, when Howard tells Tony,
"I'm limited by the technology of my time, but one day you'll figure this out."
maybe that's because Howard knew that his success was largely due to his deal with Mephisto, and he wasn't actually as smart as he let on. But remember, every deal with Mephisto has an ironic price, and in Howard's case, it was that the organization he founded, the organization to keep the world safe, S.H.I.E.L.D., was secretly growing Hydra within it like a beautiful parasite. And then Hydra creates the Winter Soldier, who kills Howard Stark's wife and then kills him. That is irony writ large. And think about how this ultimately benefited Mephisto. Without Howard Stark, Obadiah Stane would lead Stark Industries. And then, without Howard's moral guidance, Tony's genius, instead of healing the world, creates weapons of war that spread violence and despair across the planet. And all of that benefits Mephisto. But also, remember, Doctor Doom is now going to be a variant of Tony Stark from another universe. And in the comics, Doom's mother sold her soul to Mephisto on the promise that her son, Victor Von Doom, would grow up to be a great man. So, what if Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom had the same motivation, to free his dad's soul from hell? Like the Russo brothers have said that the origin for their Doom is tied to Tony's snap in Avengers Endgame. So what if, in that afterlife soul world, this version of Tony Stark saw his dad, and his dad tells him, hey, I'm trapped, you have to come find me, I'm in hell, etc. But then, after Tony leaves Soul World, we see that Howard Stark's ghost was actually Mephisto. Alright, so that's my case for Howard Stark having made a deal with Satan, and Tony Stark is still under the cursed visage of Mephisto. Tommy, Colton, I'm joined here with you guys. Remember, Colton Ogburn is the guy who's trapped in our television but doesn't know it, so please don't tell him. And Tommy Bechtold is the guy who's always on break. Tommy, since you've got some free time right now, let's start with you. Who else do you think in the MCU Mephisto made a deal with?
Yeah, I have a couple of contenders, but the first person that jumped out at me when this possibility came about was the power broker herself, Sharon Carter. I think the meteoric rise in Madripoor to become the power broker, obviously she's a capable government agent in the films, but I just feel like in order to become the power broker, there's a little bit of a Faustian bargain there. So I would love, because she's a bit of a loose end right now in the MCU, and I would love, to see her emerge as an agent of Mephisto now, as someone who's beholden to him in some sort of dark deal, as it were. So I would Sharon Carter as my flagship entry.
You know what I really love about that is, like you said, she's a bit like cast aside, or we don't know what they're doing with her. But her journey, right? If you watch Civil War, there's no indication in that movie, unless you buy into the Nando V Movies theory that she was secretly working with Zemo. There's no indication in that movie that she's going to turn heel. She is all in on loving her aunt, and she seems like a good person. And in the show Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they give a little bit of like, oh, well, I wasn't appreciated, or I was tried after for helping you or for helping Steve and that kind of stuff. This makes total sense, because I think that to make this work, we have to see them not only succeed, but also succeed whilst starting to do evil shit. And that would explain her heel turn. I really like that. Colton, what do you think about Sharon Carter?
Oh, I think that'd be great. And I 100% agree. I did not see that heel turn coming. I think with that character specifically, they just do a lot of stuff that I'm like, what? Like her being the niece of Peggy Carter. So no, I wouldn't be surprised.
She should have been a Skrull.
Oh,
That would've been
totally
good,
should
too.
have been a
Yeah.
Skrull.
In like a
Yeah.
massive secret invasion movie that they never made. She would have made a great Skrull. I hate to
be
keep beating
honest
that
with-
drum.
Yeah. To be honest with you, when's the last time we even saw Sharon Carter? I'm trying to remember. Was that in...
Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah.
Around April 2021.
Mine goes back a little bit, and I kind of struggled with this assignment, trying to think of different people who might... Like, Hawkeye crossed my mind, but I know we said no main characters. Like, I could totally see Mephisto, like, coming to him and, like, trying to seduce him during his Ronin period.
Never been a main character, though. Not really. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of in a show, but yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah.
And then I, of course, overthought it and thought, well, I guess Mephisto couldn't undo the snap, so he wouldn't have done that. I don't know. The main one that came to mind was Aldrich Killian from Iron Man 3, a guy who was really
That's
down
great.
on his luck. Yeah, it's super, from the beginning, he looked very different, very, he looked like he would be talking with us here on ScreenCrush. He didn't look like this really handsome billionaire starring in a movie. And then he had this major turn, and it's been a while since I've seen Iron Man 3, but I believe he said, like, he had some surgeries and stuff to, like, help with his teeth and the hairline and all that. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think so. And I think his extremis is what did it. Because remember, he has extremis at the end
Right,
of it.
right.
Like, I'm the man. He managed to stabilize himself, but how did he get it to work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Extremis on its own, very devilish. I mean, very devilish,
Yeah.
hellfire-looking character. And one thing that, again, I was overthinking, we saw that the Hood has these scars, the tattoos and stuff that Mephisto causes when you have... So I was trying to think, like, well, what character maybe could be covering that up or something? Maybe the Extremis could cover that up. I'm not sure. And then one more character, and this one's a little out there. There's a character from the comics who... He's like a dirt bike rider. He does, like shows and stuff. He's a bit of a daredevil. And his name is Johnny Blaze. And I could just see a situation, because his dad died. And I could just see a situation where a devilish character like Mephisto might approach him and ask him to be, like, his, I don't know, like a spirit of vengeance or something like that. I think that might be cool.
Yeah. I remember that guy, that obscure Johnny Blaze. He was kind of part of that Evil Knievel fad. That character, yeah.
Somewhere David Goyer's heart just grew 3 sizes when you said vengeance.
All right. Those good picks. I got a small addendum to Aldrich Killian that I think is really interesting. I don't think the scars are necessarily something that we should always look at, because Ringo does not have scars like that, right? And he does say presidents, popes. The thing also that's interesting about this, that makes Killian interesting, is in the show, he goes after Parker. Why does he go after Parker? Who the hell is Parker? Well, Parker leads him to a bigger prize, Riri. In our video, I talked about, this is like Palpatine recruiting Dooku, and the whole time, it's like that meme, he's looking over at Anakin, is the person he really wanted, So with Killian, it's like he never wanted Killian. Who was that leading him to? Or who was that manipulating for him to be able to get? Like Mephisto is the ultimate chess player. He's always thinking several moves ahead, That's pretty fun. Tommy, who else you got?
Well, it's interesting, actually, because I think it's all kind of tied into a similar through line, that perhaps who Mephisto ultimately wanted was Tony. I had suggested that perhaps a reemerging character from Iron Man days of old, one Justin Hammer, was in line to make a deal with the devil. Because I want Sam Rockwell back in the MCU, and 2, he's a man who's very down on his luck right now and very susceptible to a deal. I also thought there's a chance that if they're going to get into backstory, maybe he didn't honor his deal with Mephisto, and that's why he fell apart in Iron Man 2 and ended up in prison. The misdeeds, obviously, but why things didn't go through for him. I just feel like those Iron Man villains, because that world plays, the Iron Man universe plays in the sandbox of rich, powerful men, it fits in with what Sacha Baron Cohen, Mephisto, said in Ironheart.
For example, out of the Forbes 100 richest list, I've made a deal with 100 of them.
And to the same point, like Obadiah Stane also fits into all these categories we're talking about, where Obadiah Stane, his deal could have been what got Howard Stark killed and let him rise to power. But the monkey's paw, like the ironic situation is, he's gone, but now his kid is the one, like, and then that forces Obadiah Stane to then double deal behind the kid's back and forces him further down the path. Like, what's really cool about this is when you can see how that bargain forces characters into much worse situations down the line. Like, for instance, Rhodey, right? So Rhodey is a good candidate, where he's somebody who is Tony Stark's best friend. I don't know when he makes the deal, but he becomes, Iron Man, right? He gets to be War Machine and then be an Avenger and be a superhero and be a part of that club. He's never really accepted in the club. Boom, you're looking for this, nobody cares. But then he's paralyzed, and then he gets his life stolen by a Skrull. So that's absolutely an interesting candidate. So they got to do something with that character, damn it.
Yeah. No, Rhodey's a great candidate because I absolutely agree with you. That's, the Skrull thing kind of ultimately felt slightly hollow because Secret Invasion was so poorly executed. The idea that he brought all of this suffering on himself through a faulty deal with the devil, I think adds that level of spice to Rhodey that we're missing. Because right now, I mean, one, he's going toe-to-toe with Tony Stark. That's always, and he's the authority position, so that's always going to make him a wet blanket. But, like, now that Tony's out of the picture, he's not really being looked to in the MCU as a leader or as someone that could take place. It was like kind of, the MCU immediately pivoted to, like, Sam Wilson as Captain America, as, like, the figurehead of the...
Well, Colton, you look like you got something to say. Lay it on me.
Yeah. No, I just...
Lay it on me, Texas.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Do you guys think... Do you guys think there's any possibility that maybe that's how Fisk won the mayoral race? And why he's so superpowered awesome. Now? He's got all this strength?
I don't think Fisk would make that deal. I don't, because Fisk knows about deals like that. And I think Fisk is so smart, he'd probably even like Rick Sanchez walking into the Needful Things shop, like, oh, I get it. You're like Satan, right? Like, you're
exactly.
I've done this. I've been on your side of the table. I know what's really going on here.
I don't make deals with devils.
There's only one devil I want to destroy in this town. You guys, have you heard this theory? It's a tangent. And I think after this, I want to talk about Wanda, because there's some interesting shit in this too about Wanda. There's a theory going around. Remember when Rhodey touches Tony's head at the end of Endgame when Tony dies, right? Well, in Secret Invasion, which is canon to the MCU, we see Skrulls touching heads to absorb knowledge. So if that was a Skrull, and I think it is because he's in the hospital gown when they rescue him, if that was Skrull Rhodey, he's downloading and stealing Tony Stark's time travel tech and all of his other technology. And that would be a hell of a good setup for Armor Wars. Because Skrull Rhodey stole that info and, I don't know, sold it, did something with it.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for confirmation that Secret Invasion took place on like Earth. Who gives a or something?
Yeah, I know. But so far it didn't. And right now, according to RPK, we are going to get a Strange Academy TV show before we get Armor Wars. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah,
I also think that is a wonderful way to make Secret Invasion quasi important to the MCU, because like they're the only way they're ever going to make people care about what happened on that show is to have elements of it be important in previous films. Like you go back and say, like, because Rhodey was a Skrull in Secret Invasion, he was also a Skrull at the end of Endgame and absorbed Tony's. Then all of a sudden I can't, like, my little like odometer of care giving a shit about that show goes up to like
yeah, but even then it's not enough. Like I remember when that show came out and then Rhodey was revealed as a Skrull and we were all like, oh, remember in Endgame when he tells Nebula I haven't always been like this? That's because he was a Skrull. Like we were really reaching at that point. And by the way, that show did set up an interesting idea, which is that like MI-13 series with Olivia Colman. Olivia Colman can come back, do whatever she wants in the MCU.
Yes.
She was an absolute delight. But let's talk about Wanda Maximoff. We talked about this in our Easter egg video. We'll probably do a whole follow-up video about this. I'm sure over at New Rockstars, Eric's got them lined up because he loves a good Mephisto theory, right? So the whole time WandaVision was on, we were like, oh, it could be Mephisto. That makes sense, right? He's in the comics and stuff. He stole Wanda's kids' souls. And then it was revealed that it was Agatha all along, but it wasn't really. It was the Darkhold, which is Chthon, and Chthon's got this red energy. And then in this show, we see red energy tied to the same kind of looking energy. And then, remember, the scarring we saw on Parker is a lot like what Wanda, the black fingers of the Darkhold, the dark circles under the eyes, which is like Caecilius too. But that kind of tells me maybe was actually Mephisto all along in WandaVision, and maybe Wanda made this deal.
you just made me harken back to my favorite WandaVision rumor of all time, which was Al Pacino was going to play Mephisto and appear on the show. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
man,
back when I was working at New Rockstars, we went wild on that one. We were like, could
yeah.
you imagine? But I do
because
think,
that was like the Devil's Advocate. Tony Gilroy penned the Tony Gilroy screenplay, The Devil's Advocate, the adaptation of Movies Better Than the Book.
Yes.
That, that fits. He's great.
And it tied in with Paul Bettany saying that he had a scene with an actor that he never thought he'd get to act with and ended up being himself.
Right.
So anyway,
we were nuts during COVID. Made us insane leading up to that show.
Yes.
I mean, we were just hungry for any morsel. I remember the hand. Remember the hand in the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
That that's a hand, and it was not a hand. But we everybody did a video about the hand in the mirror behind Pietro.
Yes.
Jeez, dude. Yeah, but I actually think, because look, let's face it, Wanda's heel turn was terrible, right? Like, it was just not done well. It came out of nowhere. The heel turn in Multiverse of Madness, right? The actual heel turn. So that didn't work. This would be a great way to justify it. And the shame about Ironheart as a show is that it is just... they're dumping it, right? It should have been a weekly release. It's good enough to be a weekly release. It's one of the best shows they put out in a long time. And Mephisto should be like this grand reveal, but maybe because Variety leaked the news right away, it just didn't land. I personally think they just shouldn't have called him Mephisto. They should have just called him Dormammu and left it at that. And then it wouldn't have mattered that Variety leaked it. What do you guys think? I want to go a little bit deeper in my bag of tricks here, right? Because we've still got some time to talk about this. Eric Selvig. I'll think about that one. He's an astrophysicist. Mephisto concedes that his work will be of interest to wormholes, and he ties Asgardians into that. Finds this guy, makes him a deal. You want to be at the top of your field? I'll put you at the top of your field. The price he pays is he gets a god in his brain. And what this helps him do is it helps him set up the Avengers as a going concern for whatever reason he wants to do. And that's the other question here. What do you guys actually think Mephisto's after? Like, his continued evil influence on Earth? In the comics, there's this whole thing where he's trying to put off Armageddon so he won't get cast into the Lake of Fire. What are your thoughts? And do you think Mephisto could actually figure into any other projects coming up?
I do, and I think that there's going to be... I think he's assembling, a group of compromised individuals who are all beholden to him through deals. And I was thinking about who would be the most fun. I like him having some leverage over Wong. To me is very fun because Wong is he's so solid. Like, if he had you just made me think something with the Eric Selvig thing. Like, the person who really suffered the consequences in the Thor franchise is Jane Foster. She ends up getting cancer, and I know they explain that away, but or they explain why that happened, but perhaps that maybe in an effort to maybe she had a deal to reunite with Thor or something like that, and that's why she got sick.
Or that's how she got her riches and fame ahead of time. Right. And you're right, that would also have the added effect of with Thor's head the whole time.
Right.
With Jane Foster, did they explain how she got cancer?
I thought, wasn't it from... No, maybe I'm... I thought she was exposed to some sort of radiation from some sort of Avengers
maybe the ether did it. Okay, I don't really remember. I didn't care for that movie that much.
I didn't either.
Although I
Seen
think
it once.
You could probably re-edit that movie and make it better. You could just take out some of the improv, and it would be a lot more enjoyable.
Maybe the thing about eating children could be put on the cutting room floor. I'm not sure.
I like that part, though. That was sweet. Okay. Some of the names we've thrown out here, guys. I don't know that Wanda, by the way, made a deal. I don't think she ever sat across the table from Sacha Baron Cohen, right?
Well, I just wanted to say, going back to Wanda for a second, I hate what Marvel has done, especially in the multiverse saga, with having so many redundant characters in a shared cinematic universe. There are certain kinds of characters that we've got 4 that really fill the same role. And I think that's kind of what we could have gotten with Mephisto if Chthon, Nightmare, and Loki, all of these different villains that they were teasing in WandaVision, and this dark magic side that Disney Plus series have really gone into. I think it would have been so much cooler had they had more of a plan to set up this Sacha Baron Cohen Mephisto all of these years, leading up to it, and have him be kind of this Loki, this Thanos for the TV shows, because he could tie in so well with all of their shows. Loki, Daredevil, Agatha, Wanda. Yeah, I hope that's what they're doing.
One of the best things about the MCU, I think, is that they don't plan the granular things. So the example I always bring up is from that book, The Reign of Marvel Studios, where, you know, when they were writing Avengers Infinity War, they picked up from Doctor Strange, from Scott Derrickson, they picked up this idea that Strange and the Ancient One can use the Time Stone to see the future. And that's how they had the whole thing where he sees the 14 million possibilities, right? Awesome. There's also, though, I think they have a broad overview of where they're going to go. We talked to Sev Ohanian, the producer of this show in Ironheart. Still can't believe I got to talk to him. And I said, hey, so what's next for this character? And he got real quiet, which I basically was like, well, you've said you've got plans. Like, basically just in not answering that, you're like, there is something lined up. Personally, and I think we're going to do a video that focuses on this soon, I think it's really cool if she becomes one of the champions / Young Avengers, because you have other like demonic stuff at play there. And again, if it's going to build up to Wanda coming back in the Children's Crusade, we're saving that. I'm basically teasing another video that Colton's outlined today, and he's probably like, Ryan, shut up, because this is going to go in the video. But yeah, this is such a fun reveal. This is like the most fun I've had covering the MCU and speculating in a really long time.
Isn't it crazy how when they actually put out a good piece of work, how fun it can be?
Yeah. I mean, well, what was the last show before this? Was it Agatha?
Yeah, and that was good too.
Also very good. Also really fun to speculate on, and had a twist that really surprised me. I would have never, if it weren't for like reading theories online, I would have never come across that theory. That Billy was creating the Witch's Road. Spoiler, guys. Sorry.
Just save us don't do any Echo spoilers and we're okay. I got to keep my Echo fans pure.
And I'd like to see the original cut of that series.
Yeah,
I really think that they had something cool there that they just kind of threw by the wayside. Maybe that is going to happen, Colton, or at the very least, maybe he's going to be the opponent for the Midnight Suns, because we are slowly... Yes. You mentioned that guy John Blaze earlier. That'd be cool. We talked about it before. Werewolf by Night, all that other... the Blade... Yeah. They might make a Blade movie, and if you guys have heard, but there's discussions about a Blade movie.
It's being teased.
It can actually happen. Yeah, I mean, they've mentioned it once or twice. But one thing I'll tell you is that cliffhanger at the end of this show, I can't think of the last thing in this franchise that made me want to watch the next thing more than that exact, not the Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four tease, like none of these post-credit scenes set me up the way that did. It even made me look forward to the Strange Academy, and I've never read that comic book. I've heard good things, though. Right? Okay, so ranking these, counting Howard Stark from earlier, who do you guys think was most likely the person they could say retroactively made a deal with the great Satan himself?
I'm going to give Colton the nod on this one with the Aldrich Killian. I think that's probably dead on. It kind of thematically fits with the Hood, and I think that I like that idea. I think it'll be easily digestible for fans of the movies to make that connection.
I'm going to say Sharon Carter. I really like that, because that not only is a great theory, but it also, you think about the end result of what happened. A lot of really bad things happened because of Sharon Carter. Baron Zemo getting out, John Walker disgracing himself. John Walker eventually could be set up to fall again in New Avengers. Hell, John Walker might have made a similar bargain as well.
I think one that we didn't mention is Howard the Duck. I think that the way that he and Darcy were able to conceive and what if.
Oh, you're being serious. I laughed at you.
Yeah. And not to mention that Kat Dennings. How did he pull Kat Dennings? That's still like.
No.
It had to have been because of the corkscrew.
How did she pull Howard the Duck?
You're right. You're right. All right, I will leave it at that. But I want to know from you guys down in the comments, which of these guys do you think has made a deal with Satan? Do you think this is retroactively ruining things, or are you as excited about the MCU as I am? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or our free-to-join Discord server. You can also find links for these guys down below. And just so you guys know, we care about you. We like having you here at the channel, watching us goof around. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe, smash that bell for alerts for ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy.